I have got to admit it, folks. I love to rank things. Love to rank things. I can rank food. I can rank sports. I can rank whatever. Music. I love to rank things. So you're along for the ride this week here at the Voice of College Football. We've done this a number of times, though. This is nothing new here with what we do. Welcome to the College Football Show. This is the College Football Show. Yeah, emphasis on the. Take from it what you will. Appreciate you being here in the chat. Leave those comments, questions there. We will leave the call-in line available as well. We will be here for as long as you would like us, depending. We will be here for 1 hour for sure. And then if you would like to contribute to the show, we will go past that. Our attempt here is to run down the top 50 programs in college football according to this guy right here, the Voice of College Football. So again, we've done this, I don't know how many years. I don't keep track of these things. If I had expected to start a network, maybe I would have started some kind of database, but we've done this at least maybe 5 or 6 years, something like that, ranking all the programs in college football currently. And here in a few weeks, few months down the line, we will rank all the programs historically. We'll do the all-time rankings as well. I've been working on those numbers as well for the all-time rankings. But this is 2025. So this is basically where do these programs stand right now? Not necessarily a team ranking. Okay? Get that square. It's not necessarily a team ranking. The current team, the current head coach and coaching staff have a ton to do with this ranking. Of course, they're the people in charge and the people on the field playing right now. It has a lot to do with what's going on right now. However, we know that there could be extremely elite programs, strong programs that are having down seasons, maybe projected to not have a great season this year, or vice versa. Somebody trending up, got a really good class of individuals that could spur them on to a better than expected season, but they're not necessarily strong as a program. We also have those programs out there that it seems to not matter to a large extent. It obviously matters more than anything who the head coach is, but not matter as much as other programs where we have seen you could take the middle 70% of college football and basically the head coach determines how good they are to a large extent. So we do appreciate you being here. We'll leave the call-in line out for you. We'll be here till 5 p.m. Eastern time unless you would like us to carry on further. And what we will do there is accept your super chat contributions. We do appreciate them. We want to make it extremely clear that if you are not able to give, in no way do we want that to hurt. So please do not give if you were not able to. I do believe in sacrificial giving, but not to me, not to the Voice of College Football. Sacrificial giving, that goes to people that need it. That goes to the people that can't eat, the people that are homeless, to your local church. Those are the people that need the sacrificial giving. So I completely believe in sacrificial giving and giving out of your need, but not to here at the Voice of College Football. Give out of your abundance. We do appreciate your contributions. And by the way, while you're giving, you're also spending. So spend at Amazon. Use the link that we provide. It's down in the description section of all the videos. And again, when you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide. Why not? So let's say you spend $100 at Amazon. If you spend $100 at Amazon using the link that you typically use, then you send Amazon $100. If you use the link that we provide, you send Amazon $100. They kick us back 2, 5, 8, something like that, depending on the product. So why give a multi-trillion, not billion, multi-trillion-dollar company more of your money? You might as well support here at the Voice of College Football. So it's the one way in which you can support the channel by not spending a penny. So we appreciate that. Please hit the like button and subscribe. Get your friends and family, your college football acquaintances all geared up for the top 50 in all of college football. Again, this is a 2025 program ranking, not team ranking. I believe I failed to do a team ranking at the conclusion of 2024 that I typically do. I will run down my 1 through 130, whatever it is, that particular year, 136 now in FBS football. I enjoy doing that. Did not get around to that. This channel has largely thrived on ratings and rankings from me. We have rated and ranked just about everything that you possibly can in college football outside of mascots, because I could care less about mascots, but everything on the field we rank, or have in the past. I have backed it off on the content here this off season. So my apologies, but you can count on me being here every day, weekday, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, except for, guess what? This Friday, yes, we will still have a show, but that will be at 11 p.m. Eastern time. So you late night folks, you night owls out there, join us Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern time. I will be here to take your calls. One late night call-in show each and every week, decided by you. So we'll talk college football on Friday night, and also I will give someone out there the power to determine our next late night call-in show. Or maybe we'll take a vote. We shall see. Got a lot of great things planned here at the Voice of College Football. It's pretty amazing the number of people we're bringing on board. We launched a North Carolina show recently. We have a Colorado show in the works. USC's coming back with a couple shows, so please check out all of that and a number of other shows. I talked to our guy Alec just a few minutes ago via text, and the Indiana show and channel is taking off. Good to see. Good to see. So thanks for your contributions, and check out the entire schedule that we post right here on YouTube every day. We're up to like 10 or 12 shows on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It's pretty incredible. And I still show up on some of them, including Miami Live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then we follow that up. Guess what? Special edition, On the Move with Leanne Herring and myself. That's at 8 o'clock tonight. We're going to have that right here on the main channel. 8 o'clock tonight. We're talking transfer portal. And of course, that kicks in next week. So don't expect much with the transfer portal because there's nothing out of significance yet. But next week, we wanted to get you set and in gear for another run at the transfer portal. So we're going prime time with On the Move starting tonight. And then we will extend it for at least the next few weeks in prime time. So mark it down, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time with Leanne and myself with On the Move. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? What do we got in the chat? We are $1.99 closer to our second hour, so we appreciate that. I better get the glasses on. Drufus, thanks so much for being here. Yes, head coach does matter. My goodness. Yeah, head coach definitely matters. Just look across college football and see the programs. We could go through the majority of college football and in the last 10 to 15 years, take each one of those teams and look at their high end and their low end, and it's all over the place. It over time is all over the place. Oklahoma State got a decent coach in Les Miles. And of course, we saw that Les Miles, despite his issues off the field and despite he's not a game manager, he can lead young men. And he turned the program around. He handed that to Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy's done a really good job. Look at Deion Sanders at Colorado. Look at what Jonathan Smith did at Oregon State, arguably the worst football program in the history of college football in power conference play. Probably are Oregon State, Northwestern, Wake, Vanderbilt. There might be one or two that I'm missing. That's pretty much it. Rutgers, those are the worst programs in college football history. And Jonathan Smith did a remarkable job. Look at Bill Snyder at Kansas State. Remarkable. Look at Mike Leach where he's gone. May he rest in peace. Texas Tech was nothing before Mike Leach. They slumped after Mike Leach. with Tommy Tuberville and specifically with Cliff Kingsbury. But the before and the after is a stark contrast. He goes to Washington State. They were mired in 4 and 5 win seasons for a decade. And then he turned that around. Then he goes to Mississippi State. And we see what Mississippi State has been since Mike Leach passed away. And we have umpteen examples of exactly what Drufus is talking about. Drufus, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate it. And again, don't worry, if we don't go to a second hour, we will be back to finish out the rankings. Absolutely. We also have a great guest coming up on Thursday. So on Thursday, we got Greg Pflugar from Peek Around the Corner. College football is stopping by. We're going to talk all this expansion talk and what's going on more specifically with the NCAA, the hearing with college football, the $2.8 billion settlement, all of that. We may get to that in just a second, actually, before we run down these rankings, because nothing's been decided and we know what the conclusion is going to be. However, there were 3 points made by the judge in this hearing that are rather crucial in all of this. Tukey G, appreciate you being here. Jackson, counting down the days. If you need a countdown, you get to Jackson. And you know what? We used to have a countdown clock, and I forget who to credit for that. Somebody sent me a countdown clock, and I knew how to work it. There were no directions, and it was pretty self-explanatory that you could figure out how to work it. And at some point, it stopped working. Otherwise, I enjoyed having the countdown clock. I'll have to find some old video and show everyone. We had a countdown clock, and I thought it was pretty cool because I set it to the first game of the season. So right now it would read a zillion hours and a zillion minutes, but it would be counting down all the time, which kind of makes you feel kind of invigorated that, okay, even though it's 140 days away, it's still a countdown. We are chewing up the seconds and the minutes and the hours. And then during the season, what I would do is I would set it to the next game. So if it was Monday night, there was a Thursday night game, then it would say like 72 hours and 12 minutes. But we no longer have the countdown clock. Then I moved and it wasn't working and I went. So whoever bought that for us, we do appreciate that you gave us about a 2-year run with a countdown clock. I actually think that would be kind of cool to get another one. Maybe I'll do that while I'm getting another shelf. I think we'll get another shelf is what we'll do. Karen has a feeling that Mississippi State won't be in the top 20. It's a good feeling you've got, or maybe it's a negative feeling because, of course, you root for the Bulldogs, but it's a strong lean there. Dave's here. As long as our teams are in the top 10, we aren't going to cry, right? It's his channel, and there are his opinions correct. Boys and girls, talk to Michigan and Ohio State fans mostly. Yes, Dave, you are talking to Ohio State and Michigan fans. You are clearly talking to Ohio State and Michigan fans. They are the biggest whiners on this channel, both of them. I think all fan bases are the same. You've got your respectful fans. You've got your hateful, delusional fans. You've got your optimistic fans, pie in the sky all the time. Everything's great. You've got your pessimistic fan. You've got your range in every fan base. However, here, we cannot. Ohio State, Michigan fans, they do not coexist here. They just can't exist together. You know, it's funny because on our Ole Miss show this afternoon, War Room, this is not a prediction or projection about what's going to happen this season. Although I said yesterday or the other day talking about USC, well, you got to check out War Room. We had Ryan Abraham from 247 Sports on yesterday. Great conversation with Ryan about USC football. So check it out, yesterday's show. But so this is not a projection. This is not a prediction. This is just where I believe these programs stand right now. So USC could certainly finish in the top 15 this season. They are the biggest wild card, the most intriguing team to me in the Big Ten. USC number 1, Nebraska number 2. I am very intrigued with those two teams. Drufus, Dave's here. Did you steal that from a Miami channel too? Are you talking to me? Did I steal what from a Miami channel? That would be my channel. Mark, I thought your school trademarked the word "the." I believe that they trademarked the entire thing. We trademarked the voice of college football. That is trademarked. If anybody catches anybody out there using the voice of college football, no, 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 no. We've got that trademarked. It's patented. Ohio State did, especially when the U was doing it first. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Yes. We got to note this one more time here. Don't forget to tune in this evening, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can stay right here. We want to get you over to the recruiting channel, though. But for tonight, yeah, you can join us right here. Leanne and myself talking recruiting across the nation. And Leanne and the guests that she has lined up over the last several weeks for our recruiting show and on the Ole Miss show is pretty remarkable, and there is more to come. I guess that's next, Highlander. Have I ranked sideline foliage yet? Yes, Colorado show's coming. I would like to tell you who's going to be doing the Colorado show, but I can't because I don't remember their names. So my apologies to our new members of the team here at the Voice of College Football. But yes, Colorado show on its way. Houston show, maybe a little further down the road for a Houston show, but sure, somebody could possibly kick in with that one. And as Jackson lets us know, we got a North Carolina show that we've had going for a couple weeks now. I'm preaching something. Tennessee better be in the top 10. Let me double check this one, Bleed Orange, because I may want to look at this. That's a close call. Let's see. Is Tennessee in the top 10? Is Tennessee in the top 10? Is Tennessee in the top 10? Ooh. They better be in the top 10. Adam, good to see you. Edward, good to see you. Everybody, good to see you. If you're watching on Twitter or on Facebook, we do appreciate that you are. But hey, get here to YouTube. Rick, Wisconsin show. Yeah, I would love to have a Wisconsin show. Actually, if there were enough of me, I would love to host all these shows because I learn so much about these teams and I like talking about different teams. But it's so much better with the people that are invested in the programs and that know the teams back and forth hosting these shows. But at one point, I was hosting all these shows and I enjoyed it. But there's only one of me, and you would much rather hear from people that know the teams and are invested. But yes, we would love to have a Wisconsin show. Yes, I believe the priorities past what we currently do would be Penn State. Big priority. You know, we should delve into the SEC a little bit more, although we've got the SEC pretty well covered in terms of the big brands. We've got just about everyone except South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Arkansas. We don't have an Auburn show. That would be good. Auburn would be good. We've got a Tennessee show starting soon. Tennessee starting soon. Florida State. I did the first 299 Florida State shows. We did the number 300 with somebody completely different for the first time ever. So we had to shut down Florida State for a couple months, but FSU is back. And that's on Wednesday nights, I believe. Sooner Thrawn. How you been? I've been here. Our buddy Sooner Thrawn, big OU fan. Big fan and friend of the channel here. I've not seen that name show up in a long, long time. And Jackson letting us know we do have a Wisconsin channel. I would not necessarily advise you to check it out because I don't know that you're going to find much there. But maybe you could just subscribe now and get set for the deluge of content that's coming. 5 Adams here. Roll Tide. All right. Before we hit the rankings and before we hit the news of the day, because I do want to touch on this hearing because it's so incredibly important. And again, nothing's been decided, or we will do a show when there's been something decided. I have some thoughts about possibly looking at rosters and looking at the makeup of college football teams and depth charts and taking the money that is to be allotted to these athletic programs. Keep in mind, this is not just football. This is for the entire athletic program for these schools, and then determining how should this money be distributed. I have my thoughts about that. Disputed National Champions. There you go, folks. Disputed National Champions. That is the book. Please grab the link down in the description section. I believe you will love this book. If you love college football, it's not just a history book, although it gives you great insight into what happened during the 1990s in a not exhaustive form. This is, I could have written and spent 5 years to, write that much on every year of college football during the 1990s, but it's like 10 or 12 pages on each season that sets it up for you. And the reason I chose the 1990s is because it was the most formative and most influential decade in the history of college football in terms of determining the champion. And again, not just a history book. We take all of these seasons and we drop them into the BCS, the 14, the 12 team, and even the proposed 14 team college football playoff to see what each of these seasons would have looked like in the future. Adam is not a Drew Aller fan. Horrible interception. It cost the Penn State Nittany Lions, of course, a chance to get to the national championship game. And I do appreciate, Adam, your contribution. Thank you so much for that. Mark, Drew Aller threw the ball to Notre Dame with 38 seconds left when any cognizant human would have thrown it away. That is a big red flag for poor Drew Aller and his judgment. It is. I am usually not to the extreme. I usually kind of pull back my judgment to stay somewhat not neutral, but so for example, I had a few conversations today, some of those online about the stock market. So people were about to jump off bridges the other day. I was not happy. There's no doubt about that. I was not happy, but I was mostly kicking myself because I foreknew most of that and should have pulled out and then let it drop. But I was not keeping track of the day-to-day decisions being made. So people are going crazy. And then we got a big swing back today, which is great to see. But again, it's one day. It's one day. And it's the stock market. And it should be evaluated over time. In this case, we've got a quarterback who throws 400 or 500 passes in a season. I don't think generally we should be quick to jump all over a quarterback in terms of great play, great day, horrible play, horrible day. However, the stakes were high, and it was a high leverage situation. And I had this feeling, even though Drew Aller does not throw many interceptions, when they trotted onto that field, tied, I think it was 24 all. And I was thinking, okay, if they were, let's say, pushed past the 30-yard line, I would give them the go ahead to go for it. But they were sitting back around the 15. And I just had this feeling, I don't know. Maybe they should just pack it in, play for overtime. But I don't fault James Franklin. I do not fault him. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and he wanted to win it right there. Because understand this, that if you go to overtime, what's the chances of you winning? Well, it's basically 50-50. We could analyze field goal kickers and break the tie, but it's basically 50-50, as opposed to you got 38 seconds to work with. You should be able to move the ball. You should be able to run 5 plays, 6 plays. I don't remember the timeout situation. Get yourself into field goal range and win the game and end it right there. You've got the ball in the hands of the best quarterback in the conference. Well, not last year necessarily, but he is coming back the best. So I had no issue with the decision, even though I had kind of reservations about it. I just felt something bad was about to happen. So, Adam, thank you so much for the contribution. Before we get to Adam thinks Drew Aller is overrated, and maybe DJ Lagway could win the Heisman Trophy, we will have to get our buddy Steve Merrill on here from Wager Talk to talk about the Heisman odds, because I consider this Heisman field to be rather weak when Garrett Nussmeier is the second highest rated Heisman candidate in regards to Vegas odds. And both of you make a good point talking to Adam and Leanne concerning DJ Lagway. So history would show you that if you're going to bet on the Heisman, you don't bet on the front runner, not because the front runner is not going to win the Heisman, but you're only going to get like 6 or 7 times your money back. You've got like 6 or 7 to 1 odds, something like that. The typical Heisman winner over the last 10 to 15 years has been the guy that's 5th, 6th, 7th, something in that range. So you got to take a calculated risk in there, possibly, if you really want to make a splash in terms of projecting your Heisman winner. And I don't know where DJ Lagway stands on the Heisman board, but I think that is a very astute conversation had by Leanne and Adam, that DJ Lagway, I just think he's that type of athlete and has that type of potential. And I think he's going to capture a lot of attention if he's able to play as well as he has the ability to play. I don't know that he's going to do that. And he's going to play in so many high leverage games in the last month of the season. Florida has the same schedule they had last year. They just play the games on the road that they played at home last year and vice versa. But it's still a stretch drive of Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia, Florida State, of course, at the end of the season. So, yeah. 5 Adam puts the word projected up there. And the reason I went that direction was because our buddy Alec, who does the Indiana show, he had some words for me the other day because it wasn't too high on my rundown of the Indiana schedule and their over under win total. And I don't necessarily, so he wants to have a debate, which will be great to have. I am up for a debate with anyone at any time. Absolutely. But I don't think he necessarily kind of caught the meaning of projection. A projection to me is not a prediction. We went through the Big Ten win totals the other day, and I made projections, not predictions. Did not make predictions. I'll remind everyone the last time I made predictions were during the college football playoffs. And I got 11 right and 0 wrong. So that's the latest from me on predictions. And you'll get my predictions sometime this summer, late in the summer. I like to hold back until the very end, and then I'll deliver the predictions right at the end of the summer on the season, and then love to do the predictions. All right, let's get to, before we go to the rankings, I did think it was important to run down the latest with this hearing. Because again, nothing's been decided, although it's pretty much in the tea leaves what will be decided. But I think the judge made 3 particular points of interest today. And then I've got a few things to say. What is that called? I know there's $2.8 billion involved, and we've got college football. I should have this story saved. We'll find it. All right, that was 2 days ago. We don't want that one. There was a story released earlier today. That's the one I want. I know this is exciting, but I want to get the right story. I was looking at it earlier today. I see Minnie's in the chat, and Minnie the other day had a great suggestion for a topic concerning college football and where all of you stand, where I stand in regards to your enthusiasm for college football this season, your enthusiasm for college football like right now. And I think that there are some good points to be made there. I cannot find the latest story. I don't want the one from 2 days ago because the judge came out with 3 points because she basically told the NCAA, we have to go back to the drawing board on a few points here. And they're important. They're not going to change the outcome of all of this, but they are important. What is today? Today is the 8th, right? All these stories I'm coming up with are from either yesterday or the day before. And I read a story today. I looked at a story today that was from today. This is annoying me now. I should have saved that story. I thought it was on CBS Sports. One more try. I'm coming up with the same. Here are the judges. This is what I'm looking for. This could be it. I could be okay with this. This might be all right. All right, this comes from Yahoo Sports and Ross Dellinger. We're going to go with it, even though I thought that came out today. And this is an article from, again, Ross Dellinger, the Tuesday, April 8th. This could be it. So they're having this hearing in Oakland, California. And we would love to go to overtime, and you can get us there with maybe Jackson can do the count at this point. I think we're $48 away. So here we go. Okay, I don't need the... He's setting the stage in the first paragraph. An older, bespectacled woman with curly graying hair, wearing a leather jacket and carrying a beige tote bag and black purse, crossed Jefferson Street in downtown Oakland on a cold, rainy day. This is not the article that I read earlier today. Okay, I don't need the narrative. Okay. In the end, the 75-year-old retiring judge indicated that she would indeed approve the settlement. So the settlement means that there is going to be media rights distribution of about $20.5 million that are going to go to each and every school. And then the schools are going to determine, based on within the guidelines of the NCAA and mostly the laws of this land, how that's distributed in regards to male, female, and otherwise. So that's one key point, of course, is the here and now, but also the $2.8 billion settlement that is coming in favor of athletes that played from 2016 up until the current day. Why that date was set, I don't remember. But so those things are inevitable. They're going to happen. These athletes are going to be paid. And the athletes from the past decade are going to be compensated. But she made a couple points here. Number one, provide a phase-in period for implementing new roster limits or grandfather in current athletes on rosters. Yes. So we're looking at roughly anywhere from 10 to 25 players that are going to be cut from current college football rosters. So with the good, with the prosperity, with the wealth comes the downside. And the downside is that if you're between number 105 and whatever on any college football roster as determined by the coaching staff, then you're going to be out of a job. And we'll call them jobs now. You're going to be out of a job. Now, if you are the 110th player on the Michigan roster, you obviously are good enough to go play in the MAC. Or if you're the 112th player on the Ole Miss roster, you can go play in the Sun Belt Conference. But if you're the 114th player on a Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns team, then it may be difficult for you to find a job somewhere. There's a great overlap between FCS talent and Group of Five, lower end Group of Five talent. So they are estimating, based on the information that I saw, that 5,000 athletes will not have a job. Now, how many football players? I don't know. But let's do the math. If it's 20 per team with 136 football teams in the FBS, then we're talking about roughly 270 players out. Okay. So the retiring judge here, she is wanting some changes to be made, a couple of concepts. Number one, this not to be just bam, out of nowhere, you're gone 2025. It's July 1st and you thought you got a roster spot and bam, you're gone because you're one of the 22 that can't make the team. No, that this only impacts incoming freshmen, let's say. So everybody that's currently within the roster limits is grandfathered in. So these programs can adapt and they can ready themselves to get to that place in a few years, roughly 4 years, of course. And number two, adjust language related to binding future athletes to the 10-year settlement. Adjust language related to binding future athletes to the 10-year settlement. So, yeah, the Judge Wilkin, she basically said it's a good settlement. It's a good agreement. This is worth pursuing. It's got to be fixed in a few areas. And there's breakdown on roster limitations and why that's an issue. And this is something on a different day that we could dive into. But I have a few basic thoughts about this and how it affects college football. One would be that so you got $20.5 million coming to your favorite school. So pick your school, whoever your school is out there. You got $20.5 million coming your way. I believe that money distribution should be directly related to the popularity or the confirmed revenue share that's brought in by that program, which of course would be weighted heavily toward football. However, let's also understand that even though that just seems like a landslide for football, that once you get past the power conference schools, and then maybe a handful of schools, and maybe the entirety of the American Conference, although the American Conference has reported losses for years and years and years. I don't know if that necessarily bodes well for a player in the MAC. And I know that they don't get the $20.5 million, but whatever their settlement, all these are collegiate athletes. Yeah, again, we're going to have to wait for the entire thing to run out, to be rolled out, because maybe it does. Maybe it is a distribution that's equal across the board for every school. And then that's another angle to it to really consider, because then you get the same amount of money going to a MAC school than you do to a Big Ten school. But let's just stick with the big boys right now. That even though football makes the most money, it also costs the most money. So I would base it on net profitability, not gross profitability, because man, you see some of these budgets of these programs. I know that the amount of money that Ohio State and Texas made this past season, and Ohio State in particular, because their profit margin was low. Wasn't like they netted a ton of money. They made the most, spent the most. Texas, to its credit, based on the numbers that I saw, made just about the most, but they were far in the black of that difference between expenses and revenue. So that's fascinating to me. The two steps to this that are fascinating to me, although my mind's going a bunch of different directions based on what I just read, but I won't address those because I'll open up all sorts of variables here. I'll just stick to these two. The $20 million comes to each school. The school determines within legalities how they can distribute that money. So Title IX comes into play possibly. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Title IX is in play to the full extent? And I'm not saying that it shouldn't. Although, again, I think this is now a business, and it should go directly to the athletes that are making the money, the sports that are making the money. And let's face it, if you've got a successful women's basketball team like they did the last few years at Iowa, and they made a ton of money, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to run a women's basketball program, then you should get your fair share as well. So for me, it has everything to do with what's fair. I believe in equity of opportunity, equity of the rules and the opportunities, not the equity of the outcome. We should not be equity outcome based in this country. So that's interesting to me, of how these schools will deal with that. And again, how much the law will play into their decisions and force their hand possibly. But let's say you got $20 million and you're at Alabama, and based on revenue that's brought in by each individual sport, let's say 88% goes to football, and 7% goes to men's basketball, and 4% goes to women's basketball, and 3% goes to baseball, and 1% goes to softball. Then that's the way it should be. And if you're a gymnast, if you're a swimmer, sorry. Well, not really sorry. You get your scholarship. You got your scholarship. That's what you earned. You should be thankful, grateful for the scholarship, and you get to tour the country and swim or play tennis. But your sport does not make any money. When I covered Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Alabama at wonderful WCBI in Columbus, Mississippi, I would go. I remember the tennis program and the sports information directors at these schools would beg me to come see the tennis team play. And I would go down there. Either I would send a photog down there, or I would go myself and shoot video. And, what do I need? I'm going to read a press release. And that's going to last 15 seconds. I'm not featuring the tennis team on the 6 o'clock news when it's the middle of baseball season or there's big time sports being played because nobody cares. Even though those teams that I was covering, they were top 5 teams in the nation. There would be like the number 1 player in the nation playing down there, and there'd be like 8 people watching. So if you don't play for a revenue sport, be happy with your scholarship. You have a free education. And then my second thought has to do with the distribution of the money. And thank you so much for the contributions. They're so much appreciated. Thank you so much for that. We'll get to your super chats. And I should leave in the call-in line too. The other consideration is that once you divide them amongst the sports, especially in football, because you've got so many players, how do you distribute the money? Well, here's my basic thought. You got $20 million. And again, some of that's going to go to other sports, but let's make the math easy. You got $20 million and you've got 100 football players. Oh my goodness, this is a blast from the past. Pack Daddy's here. And he gave himself away with this comment. WCBI Rogers and Lattimore. I think it was actually Latimer, but you did the best you could. Yeah, that was the setup. My guy, Chris Latimer. So anyway, you distracted me. Yes, WCBI, faithful viewer there from beautiful Columbus, Mississippi, right from the Air Force Base. Used to watch me late night and also would come by the station sometimes. Believe that. All right. Oh, man, let's not get into apparel right now, Edward. We would love to have some gear for you. We have most recently, we had for a few years, we had a line of merchandise and the merch store was doing well and we had some good stuff. And this was quality stuff that we got here. Now, I personally wouldn't wear this just because I don't wear stuff like this, but there would be nothing wrong with anyone else wearing it. And the reason I hung it there was because I was watching an old live stream and I noticed, okay, I had one of these hanging. I had a hat. I had a few other things. And I thought, you know what? Even though we no longer sell this and would love to get into the merch area very soon again, that I thought, it livens things up a little bit. I need more going on here. All right. I'm distracted all over the place. You guys bring up too many things, but I love that. WCBI. We do top 50 work. You remember that one? Okay. Oh, yeah. So you got $20 million. You got 100 players. You got $200,000 per player. Okay. Do you truly evaluate every player on the roster and try to distribute this money based on the quality of the player? Really? Do you do that? I don't know. If you're going to split dollars between the right guard and the left guard. Our right guard, they've both been 3-year starters, but the right guard's slightly better. We think he is. We're going to pay him $20,000 more. Do you really want to do that? Do you really? Everybody's going to know what everyone's making. And if you've got a quarterback who is exceptional, but or you've got a quarterback who's the weak link on the team, but he's still the quarterback. He's still the leader of the offense. And he is still the most vocal player, has to be on the offense. But let's say he's a Deacon Hill or a Spencer Petras of Iowa fame. He's a bad player, but he's the quarterback. Some positions are more important than other positions. That's all there is to it. That's why left tackles, cornerbacks, edge rushers, and of course, quarterbacks make more money than anyone in the NFL. Will that be the case in college? Will your shutdown cornerback be worth more than your best linebacker just because you value that cornerback? Are you really going to dissect your roster to do that? And then consider, what if somebody gets hurt? Let's say you're paying somebody, can you think of an injury maybe that, can we think of something somewhere where an injury cost a player, one of the best players in the country, basically their entire season? I can think way back to Marcus Lattimore of South Carolina fame, that he would miss entire seasons, but I can't think of anyone in particular. JT Daniels, when he was the starting quarterback at Georgia. So let's say at the outset of 2021, you're going to pay JT Daniels the most money since he's the quarterback and one of the best players on your team, but he gets hurt the second week of the season. Are you taking his money away because he's no longer contributing? Or forget about injuries. Let's say you guarantee that money. Injuries aside, there are players that we know very little about right now who are going to break out as stars this year. There are other players. Carson Beck last year, still a good quarterback, but not the quarterback he was supposed to be. His touchdowns went that way, his interceptions went that way, and he was nowhere close to the player that he was supposed to be. Well, going into the season, Carson Beck probably would have been played on a merit system, would have been evaluated as the best player on the Georgia roster, but he didn't play like it. So what do you do there? My thought is that you pay everyone the same. And the reason you pay everyone the same is not because I believe in that. I believe that the best performer should make the most. I believe in a meritocracy. However, NIL should take care of the meritocracy. That's where the meritocracy should kick in. The pay from the schools via the media rights should be equal. Just pay everyone the same. Give them all $200,000. And then the NIL is going to kick in for the star quarterback or the star players. And even the second line players and those guys at big schools are still going to get sweet little NIL deals. But that's going to take care of that portion of it, the quality of the player. I think you didn't listen to me all the way through, Dave, did you? I am the last person here that would be a communist. All right. Let's get to some football here. I think we about covered it. Yeah, those girlfriends, they're going to ruin you every time. What is going on here? When Dylan Raiola, is it Raiola or Raiola? I say Raiola. It looks like Raiola, but our guy Justin always says Raiola. When Dylan Raiola improves this season, you can add a $100 super chat mark and publicly apologize. Apologize for what? That I ranked him and rated him accurately? All right. We appreciate the super chats. Let me get the call-in line here. We still may not even get to all the rankings. We'll get to them because we got Thursday, we got Friday, we got forever until there's college football anyway. We'll get to the rankings here, but I want to make the call-in line available for everyone. And I should really wear my contacts. But anyway. All right, the call-in line's there. Dante's Inferno, stretching out those ranking shows. Well, I'm doing it the lazy way these days. What I used to do is produce a video where I had to work on graphics and that sort of thing. And I produce a video. And then I do the call-in show because then I gave people a few days to soak in the rankings. But I'm like, you know what? I don't do videos anymore. Not too many. All right, let's get to the rankings. And again, if you want to call, we're talking about rankings, but we did address this situation with the NCAA and the settlement, so you can talk about that as well if you would like. Adam, chiming in on relationship talk. All right, let's get to the rankings. So we left you, no. That's right. Super chats. Let's get the super chats here. So again, Drufus, thank you for that. Then we've got Adam, and we read the Drew Aller bashing. Then we've got Jackson Johnson, 54 down, 46 to go until a second hour. Thank you so much for that, Jackson. I'm supposed to be paying you, Jackson, which I do, but still, Jackson gives probably more than half back. But I appreciate that, Jackson. Thank you so much. You're very kind. Minnie, appreciate you stopping by. Never a dull moment in college football. I love that this show is every day. Thank you. Well, thank you for showing up Monday through Friday. And even though a lot of people suggested, hey, Mark, it's too early, people aren't going to show up. And I understand that, but we're building, we're growing a little bit. The numbers are slightly improving. So thank you so much for being here. I do so much appreciate everyone. And this show is also basically the thought of the show was, number one, we're going to get great guests, which we've already had great guests. Yesterday's show, you get Ryan Abraham from USC 247 Sports. That is the guy that founded that site. He is the originator. He's like me of the voice of college football. Ryan Abraham at 247 Sports, USC, he's like the original guy there. He's phenomenal. Great conversation with Ryan. Then we had Isaiah Hole on, who gets requested all the time from Wolverines Wire and Locked On Wolverines. And Isaiah's a tremendous guy, good friend. Boom, he's here. So those are two great guests. We were actually supposed to have Peter Burns of the SEC Network on today, but Peter said, you know what? It's my birthday this week. Can we push it back to next week? So Peter Burns, again, great friend of the show and a former ESPN colleague, SEC Network. We'll have Peter Burns on next week. Greg Pflugar from Peek Around the Corner College Football is coming on Thursday, and we had a great conversation. It was not live, but Matt Moscona, he's one of the great personalities in college football. I've been very fortunate to form relationships with some tremendous college football minds and commentators. And Matt Moscona from ESPN Radio, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, talking about LSU, we recorded the other day. And this guy puts on a podcast that's one of the best I've heard. And I don't listen to people's podcasts. I really don't. And I just know this about Matt since I've had him on 50 times. And also that I've checked in on his podcast a couple times. But I might be hitting like a greatest hits when I hit his podcast, or is it that good all the time? But basically, he's funny, but also will, provide some tear jerkers at times. So Matt Moscona, LSU, that conversation is going to be on the LSU channel and might be over there already. So thank you for that, Minnie. That was very nice of you. Adam wants a hoodie. Oh man, this merch situation is just tearing me up because we had our buddy Joey Foster put together merch for us, and he did a great job. And I think I can do this because Joey's no longer with us. He's with us on this planet. He's no longer with the Voice of College Football, but Joey's a great guy. I was just texting with Joey yesterday. So Joey and I are still on great terms, and he needed, many of you know, based on health considerations, needed to step away. But Joey was handling a lot of things behind the scenes. But I think I can share this about Joey, and he would not be that upset about it. But Joey put together the merch, and it's great. And we decided we want it to be quality. Now, we don't want to go the highest end because then we're going to be charging $80 for a t-shirt. But we went pretty high end because we wanted quality. And we did a bunch of trial runs. And then at the place that we thought we got the merch where we wanted it, I ordered about 6 things. I said, Joey, I'm going to do a kind of a cross section of things. I'm going to get this jacket and that hoodie. I don't wear hoodies. I hate hoodies. I hate the feeling of a hood on the back of my neck. I hate that. I have about 3 or 4, and I don't wear them. It has to be like a cold day in hell, all hell breaking loose, something involved for me to put a hoodie on. I hate hoodies. But anyway, I ordered one because I knew a lot of people would order them, and it's some t-shirts. And anyway, I did a cross section of merchandise. A lot of people have the Voice of College Football mug. So we're all set with our merchandise. And the first box that Joey sent me with my order, I opened this up. And if you know anything about Joey's smoking habits, I opened this box and it was like, whoa, okay, we can't be sending boxes of merchandise that smell like a smokestack. And so I immediately got to Joey there, and we got that corrected very quickly. I had my doubts initially. I thought, well, based on the people handling this stuff, what's going to happen? Okay, we'll get other people to handle the merchandise. So we corrected that, and we had some great merchandise, and we were rolling there. But unfortunately, the merch store has folded because we got too many other people involved, I guess. So we need somebody to take on the merch, and we'll go forward and redesign and do all that because we had some great merch. I've got like a red jacket. I got a black jacket. I know you guys see all the time I wear my top 25. That actually makes sense. I love wearing that jacket. I love the feel of it. I like how it looks. I'm into wearing black jackets. I got a zillion black jackets, and it's one of them. And so my apologies on the merch. We should make a little helmet, the Voice of College Football helmets, mini helmets, all of that. So Adam, sorry about that. And Adam being the host at Rutgers, at the Rutgers channel. So Adam does a show with Gabe on Tuesday night, I believe. It's Tuesday night. We would like to outfit everyone with the Voice of College Football polos and shirts. We'll get there. Dave's here. Thank you so much for the contribution, Dave. Dave is like always here now. Dave's here. Dave's here all the time now. And Adam, thank you so much for the contribution. Very nice of you. Dylan Raiola is a Hollywood actor. Minnie, did you see this? Dylan Raiola is a Hollywood actor playing the role of starting quarterback for Nebraska. That explains his performance. Well, we know 20 years from now, when the role of Patrick Mahomes needs to be played for some Hollywood movie, we know who they're going to call on. Because he obviously just worships the guy. He acts just like him. Jim, thank you so much for the contribution. Jim is here all the time. Thank you, Jim. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for the love today. Jackson, thank you for convincing Jim. Jackson convinced Jim that we actually have a decent show here, I guess. All right. So thank you for the contributions. We'll keep it rolling. And Dylan Raiola. Yes. Oh, now, this is just obvious. This is just an obvious thing. I am not doing that. This is not me jumping on Dylan Raiola. This is Dylan Raiola doing this to himself. He does this to himself. He's got all, this is like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. Jackson's going to know what I'm talking about. Many of you will know what I'm talking about. Kobe Bryant, all you had to do is watch him throughout early in his career, and it's like he licked the lips and he did this and that, just like Michael Jordan. You'd see him in a news conference, and it was obvious. He idolized Michael Jordan, and as an aspiring basketball player who's got the talent of Kobe Bryant, I understand that, but I don't understand trying to act like somebody else. I never wanted to act like anybody else. I could pick out I was going to say all sorts of people. I can pick out like one guy that that's like the coolest guy on the planet, but I don't want to act like him. I want to act like myself. And if people think I'm a dork or don't think I'm cool, so be it. I would rather be me. But we don't see this? No? How many people see this? And I'm not somebody that watches for this stuff either. It was just obvious. Kobe Bryant was incredible. I'm not dissing the guy's basketball skills, of course. As a person, I don't know. I'm not going there because I didn't know the guy. But there were a few things that were highly questionable at times. But in terms of, I'm stating something that I didn't come up with this theory by myself. This was known by the population, the sporting population, the NBA population. We're watching Kobe Bryant. Oh, he's acting like Michael Jordan. No, that's not what I'm picking up on. I'm talking about winners don't like, there's not, you can't take like all the great winning athletes in sports, Derek Jeter, Tom Brady, Yogi Berra, Babe Ruth, whoever you want to throw in there, Roger Staubach, of all time. Let's go all the way back and through, and they all have the same mannerisms. No. I'm happy that Moose is declaring that Kobe was a good man. I don't even know what that means, but okay. Joe Montana was his own man. I'm not, you cannot achieve to the greatness of Kobe Bryant and not be confident, at least as a basketball player. I don't know if he was confident as a man. That's another subject, and we don't know. Yes. Thank you, Matthew. That's what I was alluding to. And I am all about forgiveness. I'm all about second chances. And we have all done wrong. Every one of us to some degree. But that situation was a bit ugly. Okay. Yes. And while we got Matthew in the chat, we'll remind everyone that Matthew and Gerald deliver a heck of a Texas show. They know what they're talking about. Texas football at the Voice of College Football. That's on Monday nights, or they may have moved it to Tuesdays. There's too many shows now. I don't know. All right. Adam, even though it was consensual, the man was married. All right. I forgot to put in the title Kobe Bryant and Dylan Raiola. I forgot to put their names in the title of the. I knew we were going to talk about Kobe Bryant today. I knew we were going to spend a good 45 minutes on Kobe Bryant. All right, Texas show. It's on the Texas channel every Monday at 8 Eastern time, 7 Central. Man, Minnie's getting after me today. 1 hour and 13 minutes into a top 50 show and no top 50. We already knocked out the top or the bottom 86. Give me credit for that. All right, here we go. We'll see if we get there. We may have to continue this. Here we go. Here we go. All right, Gregory. I got to address this one too. Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. Yes. None of us. But there are still, you still should be wise in making an evaluation on another person. We still have a handbook for life that we are not being the judge. I'm going to go off on a little rant here. We should not be the judge, but there is a manual for this that's the judge, and we can use that. If you follow me. All athletes cheat. Well, I don't agree with that. It was once stated by Jalen Rose and other people that your frequency of cheating or the likelihood that you will cheat is based on your number of opportunities. That's true to some degree, of course, but I also think, again, that the quality and character of the person should rise above that, and does in many instances. Yeah. Are there like, oh, I was going to say something really bad. Are there less than attractive people sitting at home that would do all those things? Yes. That doesn't make them any better than the people that do. Oh man, I'm getting in trouble here. Is Pack Daddy still around? Because I got many saying Pack Daddy, and I know who Pack Daddy is. And actually, I just found out who Pack Daddy was the other day. Minnie thought that was funny, and Minnie doesn't even know exactly what that means. That's all right. Stick to the top 50. I know I'm going down a rough path here. Sorry. I'll save that for my political channel, my social justice channel. What are we going to name that? Could be either one, I guess. All right, let's get to the rankings. Bam, there they are. And we have made our 2. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. And let's get this out of the way. All right. Let me get focused on college football. Done with my rant. And we left you with Virginia Tech at number 50, down from 43, following a 6-7 season. And before we continue, let's clarify this 2024-25 program ranking. So this is going into 2025. This is based on how good is your current team? How good is your head coach? The coaching staff. But also it's tied to the past. If the past is relevant today, meaning Army's past of the 1940s and winning national championship and Heisman trophies has nothing to do with Army football today. Alabama's past still resonates today. It is still a power today. It is still a brand because of what it's done for decades and decades. So the brand, the tradition, the image, the resources, recruiting, trajectory. Who's got a trajectory going in the right direction? Ole Miss's trajectory has been going in the right direction since Lane Kiffin took over. Obvious example, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss going in the right direction. Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri going in the right direction. He's 21-5 the last 2 years after 500 seasons under himself and Barry Odom. Who's going in the wrong direction? Purdue's been going in the wrong direction. They had a great coach in Jeff Brom. He left. They're working on their second coach. They're going downhill. Now, Barry Odom's a competent coach, so they may be able to turn it around. Wake Forest, wrong direction. We've got conference affiliation. So if it's close between an SEC team and an ACC team, guess who's got the money? Who's got the brand? Who's secure in its college football future? The SEC team. Also fan support. Minnie, please be listening here because I'm going to talk well of Nebraska since I have said nothing right, apparently, during this show. But Nebraska is the gold standard for college football support, fan support. It is the gold standard. You could say some other schools are right there with it, but we don't know because Ohio State and Michigan always win. Well, and others, Georgia recently and Alabama. So we don't know what their fans would do if they went 4-8, 3-9, etc. So for right now, we'll say Nebraska is in a class all by itself in terms of the support, even when they're down. So fan support, I put that in there as well. So all those things. And again, this is a 2025 ranking, not historic ranking. So Virginia Tech, yeah, they're down at number 50. When Brent Pry took over, he's going on his 3rd season. Virginia Tech had its worst roster that they've had since Frank Beamer took over in the late 80s. They're building back to a certain extent, but actually they've not had this breakthrough that I somewhat expected they would have done a little bit better these last two seasons, 16 and 21 the last 3 years. Okay, number 49, you got Rutgers. And Rutgers, ironically, if you make a direct comparison with Virginia Tech, Rutgers has defeated Virginia Tech the last 2 years. Going 7-6 at Rutgers the last 2 years and going to bowl games and playing like decent opponents in bowl games, Miami and Kansas State, that's a hell of a job from Greg Schiano. 18 and 20 in the Big Ten the last 3 seasons. And Rutgers, if you track Rutgers from the time they joined the Big Ten in 2014 up until Schiano, they were getting their brains beat in. They lost 21 consecutive conference games in the Big Ten. Schiano is an excellent coach. This program's been awful forever, and now they are producing NFL players, and the recruiting's on an upswing. We raised Rutgers from 48. Actually, they stayed in the same range there from 48-49 after another 7-6 year. Maryland, okay, the other thing that I stated, that's right, and we made some changes. We made some changes from 50 to 136. So if you joined us for the first show, I said I didn't give this the one final once over. I gave it about a 6 over, but I should have given it one more look because I'm going to make a change here. I'm going to elevate Rutgers past Maryland. And I know Maryland just had one down season at 4-8. They went 8-5, 8-5. But I do trust Greg Schiano as a better coach than Mike Locksley. So I'm going to make a slight change there. And I'm also going to elevate those two programs past Pitt because they do play in the Big Ten. And they will be benefiting. Well, they've already benefited, but will even more benefit from this new TV deal kicking in where they make so much more money. So I'm going to elevate Maryland and Rutgers. They are still not the programs that Michigan State are, but we're going to throw them there. And of course, this thing threw me off. Okay. And then, okay, I feel okay with the rest of that right there for now. Then we go to Pitt. And Pitt really the last 2 years has not been impressive. So they dropped from 39 to 49, even though 7-6 doesn't seem like a bad season. Pitt the year before went 3-9. And this 7-6 year, they started 7-0. They lost their last 6 games. And that 7-0 start was the biggest smoke and mirror 7-0 in recent college football memory. They beat no one. Yeah. They are having their best season since the late 80s. They won the ACC title in 2021. But again, this 7-6 year that they just had, horrible. Pat Narduzzi is 72-56 since he took over the Pitt program. Of course, he was Mark D'Antonio's defensive coordinator at Michigan State. All right, we still have Mississippi State despite a woeful year. We're not going to overreact significantly to one season. I still believe Mississippi State is in a just smidge. When you're number 48 and you're comparing to 49 and 50, again, we're splitting hairs here, but Mississippi State in the SEC draws more people to the games than Pitt certainly does, or Indiana, or Georgia Tech. And for that matter, Maryland and Rutgers. They got a dedicated fan base, but Jeff Levy got off to an awful start at 2-10. And we know what happened here at Mississippi State in the last 3 years. They lose one of the better coaches in college football in Mike Leach. They give the reins to Zach Arnett, their defensive coordinator. He bombs. They only gave him 10 games. And then they finish out that season and go with Jeff Levy. So much to be seen here from Mississippi State with a new head coach who's never been a head coach in major college football. But they're coming off their worst season since 2002. At number 45, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, so then we got Rutgers. We talked about Rutgers, and we talked about Maryland at 46. Mike Locksley had it going well with 3 consecutive wins. And Maryland should take advantage, and they have to a certain extent in recruiting. The DMV is exceptional in recruiting, but Maryland, coming off an atrocious 1-8 season in the Big Ten, drops from 40 to 46. Then we've got Michigan State coming off a 5-7 season, 14-22 the last 3 years. Jonathan Smith did a remarkable job at Oregon State. It's one of the great jobs in recent college football. Mel Tucker took over in 2020, had the big 2021 season. It looked like Michigan State may be onto something. They went to the Peach Bowl, finished in the top 10. And then, of course, Mel Tucker acts like a fool, and he gets fired. He's out, and we've got a whole Mel Tucker lawsuit situation going on currently. This is very much a blue-collar program built in the image of course, Mark D'Antonio did things at Michigan State that nobody's done since the 1960s. We'll see. With Jonathan Smith being very much a quarterback whisperer, Aiden Childs, very athletic quarterback for Michigan State, maybe they can do something this year and get back to at least bowl play. Okay, UCLA's at number 44. They dropped from 33. They lost their head coach, and Chip Kelly, of course, he decided to be an OC at Ohio State and has now moved on to the NFL. And Deshaun Foster takes over at UCLA. Now, the early returns were not impressive. UCLA basically, besides a win against Hawaii, lost 5 consecutive games. But they recovered from an awful start. They played well down the stretch. They beat Nebraska. They beat Iowa. They were competitive against everyone else. So even though Deshaun Foster looked like he was in over his head, never a coordinator, let alone a head coach, as one of the great running backs in the history of the school and an NFL running backs coach, maybe Deshaun Foster made it through the rough time. Maybe they can do something. He needs the support of the school. They don't have that. Didn't necessarily need that in the Pac-12 to be a decent team, but they will need that in the Big Ten. And there you see 22-16, which means they were 17-9 the couple previous years. So UCLA can win. I've always been fascinated with UCLA. I see no excuse for them not being a major brand in college football, considering where they're located. West Virginia's got a better football history than most people realize. They are top 15 in the nation in wins. They had a stellar 1980s, 90s, into the 2000s. Of course, Don Nehlen did a great job there. Rich Rod, Bill Stewart, those guys did a great job, but they've been down for a while now. Dana Hogerson, the back half of his tenure was not pretty. Really, their last good season, their really last good team was in that Will Greer team that almost went to the Big 12 championship game, that scored like 50 points a game. That was 2018. Even the team that Neil Brown had 2 years ago that went 9-4, they weren't that good. They beat a bunch of high school teams. They were no good, and West Virginia needs something. Well, they bring back Rich Rod. History will caution us here with West Virginia bringing back its head coach, much like UCF bringing back its head coach. And speaking of UCF, they must be too high. I'm going to have to drop them. So anyway, West Virginia, I don't know. Maybe the chat can help me here. Name me a head coach that went back to its original school and did better than he did the first time. They always do worse. Bill Walsh at Stanford, John Robinson at USC, Bill Snyder at Kansas State. There's a few other examples I'm not coming up with. None of those guys did better the second time around. So anyway, West Virginia, Rich Rod, number 43, down from 32. Colorado, of course, they're coming the other way. And say what you will about Deion Sanders, he's done a remarkable job. He has done a remarkable job. And his kids are leaving and he's staying. So with each passing season, he's showing us not only that he's a winner, but he's showing us that he's committed to this thing. It appears Now, if some NFL team or a better college football program comes by and throws money at him, let's not be mad at Deion or judge him differently than other people, coaches that go to better jobs, because he will do what other uh, coaches in his position do. They go to better jobs. I can anticipate when Deion Sanders goes to another job that he's going to catch hell from a lot of people. But at number 42 is Colorado. Now we will see Deion Sanders without Shadur at quarterback. Kentucky and Mark Stoops falling from 28 to 41. So Mark Stoops, it took him a while, but he, of course, lifted Kentucky to respectability and then had, in the span of 3 years, 2 10-3 seasons on the cusp of the top 10 in the nation. But that's been a while now. That was 2018, 19, maybe the 2021 team. Now he's gone 7-6, 7-6, 4-8. Almost got hired away to Texas A&M. Then the fans went crazy and some influential boosters. Yeah, Kentucky's at a crossroads. I don't know that Mark Stoops can survive another bad season. And they have lost a zillion consecutive games in the SEC at home. Kentucky's at 41. All right, we're going to leave the list right there, and I'm going to check in with the chat and see what you guys have to say. Again, I have left the call-in line in the chat if you guys are interested. Oh, is George here? George, I have one of their t-shirts at Nebraska. It is the reddest red I've ever seen. Well, that's a good reason to love it. AI says Bill Snyder at Kansas State. Well, Minnie, either you're asking AI the wrong question or AI doesn't know college football history as well as I do, and we will prove it right now. All right. Bill Snyder. So first of all, Bill Snyder is maybe the most underrated great coach in the history of college football. So he's been exceptional. Check out my video on Bill Snyder when he retired. So basically, Bill Snyder took over what was probably the worst program in the country along with Northwestern in 1989. And Bill Snyder did this. So you see, rough start, then about 1991, 92, 93, in that range, he gets it rolling. Okay. So he takes over. When you look up Kansas State football in the 1980s, you're looking at 1-10, 3-8, 2-9, 1-10, over and over and over and over. 4-7 was a good season at Kansas State. Then look at this run. 9-2, 9-3, 10-2, 9-3, 11-1. 11-2, 11-1, 11-3. So a great run. Had a 6-6, but then he bounced back 11-2, 11-4. And his teams are finishing in the top 10 to 15 in America. 2, 4, 6 top 10 finishes. Okay, and look at those records. Look at all those. Again, 9-2, 9-3, 10-2, 11-1, 11-2, 11-1, 11-3, 11-2, 11-4. Okay. He leaves for 3 seasons, 06, 7, and 8. Ron Prince does a pretty horrendous job. They go 5-6, 5 in that range. They're not good. Bill Snyder comes back. Okay, is he going 11-2, 11-1, 11-3? No. 6-6, 7-6, 10-3, 11-2. Nice little 2 spurt season there in 11-12, 8-5, 9-4, 6-7, 9-4, 8-5, 5-7. If you do the winning percentages, it's not even close. And he did not finish in the top 10 after finishing in the top 10 6 times. So AI, I rest my case. Voice of college football 1, AI 0. Deion Sanders' pay is unreal. But consider Dave E., not to be confused with Dave's here, Dave E., he's worth it. And I know if you were on the phone with me right now, your response most likely, Dave, would be, well, he had one good season at 9-4. No, that's not what I'm talking about. He's worth it financially. They raise ticket prices. They pack the stadium. They draw the best ratings by far in the Big 12. It's not even close. The 10 highest rated college football games in the Big 12 this past season were played by Colorado. He earns his money. And I have been a critic of Deion Sanders and the way he's conducted himself at times. So it's not like I'm a Deion fan. Purdue better than Mississippi State. Yeah, that's a mud fight that doesn't really matter. Greg Schiano doing a heck of a job. There we got another. Jim is citing that Mississippi State and Purdue are about the same. Again, I'm not ranking the teams this year. All right, let's get back at it. SMU needs to be higher. SMU? No. This is not a ranking based on what happened last season. This is a program ranking. Okay. This takes all the things I mentioned at the top, and if you've not, either stick with us throughout the live stream and then go back at the beginning when we're done and go back and watch what you missed, or go back now. Do whatever you want, but I want you to be in the chat. So just watch us live and then go back, and I will give the reasons why I have the teams ranked where I do. And we will possibly change some of these rankings as we just did. Because again, I know that I wanted to go back through this one more time before we came on, but I did not. SMU at number 40, up from 57. So, of course, they made the college football playoff famously their first year in power conference play. We know the history of SMU football. They had a great run with the Pony Express in the early 1980s. And then they, of course, were running amok that entire time. It was the most egregious, obvious cheating in the history of college football, death penalty, and it took them a long time to get back. This program wants to win so badly and wants to be part of the big boys club, which they have reached in the ACC, if that's what you want to consider it, so badly that they don't even get a revenue share. I took that into slight consideration here, but they have plenty of Texas money. Rhett Lashley's doing a heck of a job. And what's funny to see in Rhett Lashley's Too Deep, go back and look at the number of Miami players that Rhett Lashley has brought from Miami to play at SMU. It's hilarious. So they make the ACC championship game. They get blasted in the playoffs. We got SMU at number 40. Again, we are not overreacting to one season. And I know SMU had a fine final season in the American Conference as well. So I gave them a nice 17-rung jump. TCU's at number 39. SMU blasted TCU by 24 points this last year. So we're ranking teams. Of course, we would rank SMU above TCU. But, TCU's got much more staying power at this point. Been a really good football program for about 15 to 20 years plus. 25 years. Gary Patterson, of course, did a heck of a job there. We're talking about a team that just went to the national championship game 2 years ago. Now, was that an aberration? Absolutely it was, but they still pulled it off. It's been a bit of a roller coaster since Sonny Dykes took over. He went 5-7. Then they went to the national championship game 13-2. Then they go back down to 5-7. Then they rally at 9-4, although that is a somewhat paper-thin week 9-4. But SMU or TCU still quality football program at number 39. Oh yeah, we're going to run into this issue. Here we go. At number 38, Texas Tech, up from 41, 8-5 season. Joey McGuire doing a decent job in Lubbock. Of course, we'll see if they're able to make hay in the Big 12 this year after their big transfer portal run and all the NIL that they put out there. The place is in the middle of nowhere, which has been difficult to recruit to. And Joey McGuire, got to say, he was an under-the-radar hire. He was a linebackers coach at Baylor. And again, NIL's kicking in. We'll see if Texas Tech improves on 8-5. And that's pretty much a Texas Tech kind of year, 8-5. Although they had some rough years with Cliff Kingsbury there. At number 37, up from 56, is BYU. Of course, BYU looked like they were going to have that difficult transition to power conference football, as everyone does. Almost everyone does. SMU did not. But check out the track records of Utah, Colorado, or Utah, TCU, and others who have made the jump. UCF, Cincinnati, Houston from the power up to the power conference ranks. BYU, though, had a tremendous season this past year. They were a really good team. Kalani Sitake, 72-43. This was a very unusual situation with BYU because Notre Dame's Notre Dame. But besides Notre Dame, going into 2 years ago, BYU was the last of the independents and just kind of floating out there and playing a very odd schedule every year because they go out there and they try to schedule the big boys, but they would also have to fill in the gaps with the Utah States of the world. But no longer is that the case. And again, they proved it in the Big 12 this past year. At number 36, we've got an Arkansas program that is just kind of languishing under Sam Pittman. 7-6 this last year. They did win a bowl game. They recovered to a certain extent, so give Sam Pittman some credit for recovering from the Chad Morris era, which was beyond deplorable. Chad Morris lost to North Texas. He lost to Toledo. He lost to Western Kentucky. This team has to play tough SEC schedules every year. Their high school recruiting is questionable because the state of Arkansas is not a maven of high school talent. So they've got to go elsewhere. Obviously, Louisiana and Texas. So Arkansas in a tough spot, but still, it's a proud football tradition. Better than what probably most of you know football tradition at Arkansas. It's a top 20 football tradition. And historically, it's a top 20 program. But right now at 36. Illinois at 50 or at 35, up from 50. Of course, the Illini had an excellent season at 10-3, 23-15 over the last 3 years. And Brett Bielema is one of my favorite coaches in college football, and I also think he's really good. Turnaround season. I don't know that you can sustain 10-win type seasons at Illinois, but for them to go 8-5, 5-7, 10-3, if you're succeeding at Illinois every 2 out of 3 years, that's good work. And really, to sustain this, they haven't had sustained success at Illinois since the late 80s, early 90s. You know, Lou Tepper and John Makovic and those teams. Mike White before that. And, of course, Jeff George at quarterback and Nate Shieldhouse and Jason Verduzco. Those Illinois teams with Simeon Rice and Kevin Hardy on the defensive side. But since then, they have not been able to string together 2 consecutive good years. They went to a Rose Bowl in 2007 and got completely annihilated. But Brett Bielema, again, if he continues this current trend, you can put up with 5-7 at Illinois if he's going to be going to decent bowl games. And in this college football playoff era of 12 teams, his team went 9-3 in the Big Ten, just like Ole Miss and South Carolina and Alabama went 9-3 in the SEC. There is hope. Indiana went to the playoffs. So the unthinkable is now within reason. At number 34, we've got Wisconsin. And you see how far I dropped Wisconsin. Because now it's more than just a one-season aberration. 2 bad seasons in a row, and we're looking at a third. I don't know that anyone really anticipates Wisconsin doing much of anything this year. They've got a quarterback battle between 2 marginal quarterbacks, and Luke Fickell. I thought Luke Fickell and Matt Rule were the coaching hires of 2 off seasons ago, and Luke Fickell is just struggling mightily, and he's facing another gauntlet of a schedule with Alabama included. So at number 34, we've got Wisconsin. We go up one spot from there, and we've got out of the ACC, NC State at 6-7 last year. Before that, they had gone on a nice run under Dave Doran, who's 87-65. I actually have 2 videos posted on this channel. They're outdated now, but at the time, I could not in any way understand why Dave Doran still had a job. At one time, he was 21-35. He was winning 35% of his games in conference play. But NC State has been much better than that. They've gone in a 17-9 run the 2 years before this past season. I did drop them a little bit because, man, they lost to East Carolina this year. They lost this. No, they did not lose to Stanford. They almost lost to Stanford. Yeah, they lost to somebody else that's awful. They are kind of in no man's land if the ACC does truly implode. I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know if they can latch on with one of the big boys. Most likely they would be headed to the Big 12, but that's down the road. At number 33, NC State. At number 32, we're going to go with Arizona State, up from 65. All right, did I overreact to one season? I think not. I think not. Pack Daddy letting us know that the Illinois quarterback, his name is Luke Altmaier, is from Columbus, Mississippi. Yes, he originally went to Ole Miss. All right, back to our friends at Arizona State. So this is not an overreaction. Kenny Dillingham is that good of a coach. Arizona high school football play is getting better by the year. It is so much better than it was 10 or 15 years ago. And Arizona State has won in the past. Look at Todd Graham. He did a decent job there. Look at the previous, the run in the 1990s, really good teams in the 80s. You can win at Arizona State. So I like them right now. And again, this is a current ranking of number 32. And yes, I bleed orange. SMU was a powerhouse in the 80s. They almost won a national championship in 1982. They went undefeated that year. They also had another top 5 finish. At number 31, we've got Oklahoma State. Of course, wow. It's strange because Mike Gundy was so incredibly consistent, churning out 8-4, 9-3s. And they were coming off a Big 12 championship game appearance. They had their quarterback, Alan Bowman, back. They had the national rushing champion back last season. They had 21 starters back, the entire wide receiver core, really good wide receivers back. And they just were horrible. 3-9. They got obliterated most of those games. They lost their final game to Colorado 52-0. So Oklahoma State in need of a comeback year, but we are still going to respect the track record of Mike Gundy. At number 30, we go with Minnesota. PJ Fleck is 58-39. That's a really good record at Minnesota. 37-15 the last 4 full seasons. They had the lowest Vegas win total going into 2024, and PJ Fleck continues to just win games. So they had the lowest win total, according to Vegas. They were supposed to be the worst team in the league, and they went 8-5 against a difficult schedule. So at number 30, we got the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. All right. I see some criticism here. Now, that is just ridiculous. Fleck does not belong there. Well, he's not the entire program, but he certainly. So we will do. Let's clarify this. Coaches' rankings are different than program rankings. We will have coaches' rankings at another time. We will have coaches' rankings at another time. And you know what? PJ Fleck's going to be higher than number 30. PJ Fleck has defeated Nebraska 5 consecutive years. So anyway, there we go with Minnesota at number 30, and that's a heck of a job at Minnesota. Same goes for number 29 in Iowa State. Actually, I would be no. We're gonna keep it there. Iowa State at 29. Oh, maybe I'm misreading the comment here. Maybe she believes that Minnesota should be higher. Okay, maybe I misread that. Let's see, what else do we have in the chat before we continue? Oh man, Jackson and I, we believe, we are the believers here when it comes to 100,000 subs. Despite what the numbers tell us, 100,000 subs. The real MVP, appreciate you being here. Thank you for encouraging everyone to hit the like button. What the heck? Let me see. You know, I did put the call-in line in the chat. I did put the call-in line in the chat. I don't know what that means. I actually was gullible enough to look at it. We do not have any 1984 BYU talk. Where is Chris? But as soon as I clamor for Chris, you know, that's be careful what you wish for. All right, I got to get back to my list. Yes, for as confident as I would be doing this with no notes, I usually have in the past, but maybe it's I'm getting old. All right, Iowa State at 29. Heck of a job by Matt Campbell. They were just a bad program. Always have been a bad program. Iowa State is not one. Iowa State has not won. We got the real MVP. Wants to see that link. All right, we'll get it for you, buddy. Whoop. Iowa State has not won a conference championship since 1912. 1912. Now, Matt Campbell has made it to 2 Big 12 championship games, did not get the job done, but of course he's done a remarkable job. But let's not overstate it. Let's understand he's done a great job. And they were winning 3 or 4 games generally before he got there. And then he lifted them into that 7-5 range. And that's pretty much what they've done. Now, they took off last year with 10-3, 11-3, had another season like that where they won the Fiesta Bowl. So nice job by Matt Campbell, no question. Anytime there's a big job opening, Matt Campbell's mentioned. When you can go 22-17 in 3 years at Iowa State, that's a heck of a job. And there is Iowa State at number 29. At 28, we got Bill Belichick and North Carolina. So North Carolina, usually when you've let go of a head coach, you go the complete opposite. Well, with North Carolina, they went from grandpa to grandpa, but they kind of stayed with the same theme of the elder statesman, but they went from the soft and cuddly grandpa of Mac Brown to the curmudgeony, kind of ornery grandpa of Bill Belichick. So North Carolina should win in football. It's a great high school football playing state. It gets better and better and better with the population shift going in that direction. And this is just going to be fascinating. College football, much like the Deion Sanders phenomena a couple of years ago, is going to be centered around Bill Belichick and whether he's still got it and whether he's got it at this level. Is it going to be a boom or a bust era for North Carolina football? Well, of course, he can flash his Super Bowl rings and maybe make some inroads in the transfer portal and in recruiting, which he has to a certain extent already. And again, talent in the state at number 28 in the nation, program ranking, North Carolina coming off 6 and 7, but it's a new era with Bill at number 27, up from 42, South Carolina. Much impressed with the job that Shane Beamer did this past season. Let's not go crazy, though. Again, let's not overestimate the job because it's one season, understanding that they just went 5 and 7 the year before. Now, they did have a 9 and 4 the year before that. South Carolina is one of these teams. You know, we mentioned this with Wisconsin and Illinois in the Big Ten. We'll mention this with South Carolina, prime candidate to be suddenly college football playoff material. They almost did it in 2024. And if our buddy Adam's still in the chat, of course, he's going to be jumping off the ceiling talking about how South Carolina got ripped off and they should have been in the playoff. So we like what's going on at South Carolina. Again, don't know that it's sustainable at a high level in the SEC, considering the competition. All right, at number 26, we go to Nebraska. And with some of these schools, it's easier to make a rankings call because everything's just kind of consistent, like consistently good or consistently bad. Like across you can look at history, you can look at brand and image, you can look at current and recent results, and it all kind of lines up. Nebraska is all over the place. If you want to look at tradition, you want to look at image, brand image. If you want to look at fan support, you know, they're off the charts. They're in the top 10 in the nation. But man, this is of course, I am ranking these programs accurately based on my perspective. But if anything, that's a generous ranking. They certainly have not played like the 26th best team in the country, but this is where the brand and the image and the power and the resources and the fan support kicks in and raises a team that's gone 16 and 21 the last 3 years up to number 26 in the nation. Up from 30 because I like Matt Rule. I like what they're doing. They finally got to a bowl game. They won the bowl game. And their outlook to me is favorable for the future. Favorable. There is an element here that is also a projection toward the future. It's mostly the tangible qualities that I outlined that I'm reviewing and analyzing and evaluating, but there is a bent toward how does this look for the future? And if I was going to add an element here, I would put a red arrow down or a green arrow up. And it looks like I can't please everyone here. Louisville over Miami, Nebraska programs. Yeah. We're not talking historically. I think this is where we have a gap in communication. This is not a historic ranking. This is right now. And Louisville wins more than Nebraska wins. They have a coach actually that's proven more. And they recruit roughly on the same level. Go look at recruiting rankings from the last few years. And Louisville, albeit a smaller stadium, packs its stadium and has strong fan support. If anything, yeah. Louisville has certainly proven, yes, we've got a failure to communicate, and I'm not going to blame myself this time. All right, let's keep it rolling. Florida State at 25. Well, this, what do you do with Florida State? All right, so you see they were number 10 last year, so they obviously had to take a beatdown of strong proportions, and maybe it goes even beyond that, but we'll see what they can put up with this year. They're still recruiting in the top 15 to 20 in the country, and they still are only one season removed from going 13-1 and winning the ACC. So again, that was a epic free fall, but let's not completely blow that out of proportion. And this really brings us to a good stopping point, I believe, for our top 25. We could do a top 25 the next time we get together. How about that? All right. Many cannot believe that Florida State is ranked above Nebraska. Do you know what Florida State has accomplished since the last time Nebraska won 10 football games in a season? Since the last time Nebraska won 10 football, that would be a Bo Pelini year of like roughly 2012. Florida State's gone 13-1 and won the ACC 2 years ago. They've gone 13-0 and won the national championship. They have won 2 national championships since the last time Nebraska won a national championship. And again, this is not a historic ranking or even a recent historic ranking, but those things matter because we're still talking about this generally the same program. They've got a coach at Florida State, and even though last season was incredibly awful, they got a coach that went 10-3 and 13-1 the 2 previous years, and Nebraska just went 3-9 a couple years ago. They just went 4-8 a couple years ago. They are only a couple years removed from 4-8 and 3-9. I think that that's a rather generous perspective on Florida State versus Nebraska, because Florida State has been so incredibly much better than Nebraska in recent years. And the 2 head coaches that are responsible for those recent results are still there. For Nebraska, it's Matt Rule, a 3rd season. For Florida State, of course, it's Mike Norvell, and we're looking at, for Mike Norvell, 2020 was his first year, so we're looking for a 6th season for Mike Norvell. Jim, we appreciate you being here. Everybody else, thank you so much for stopping by, and I do so much appreciate the contributions and the support for the show. Moose, thank you for being here. Moose is awesome. This is a book that some of you, I know Minnie, I know Moose, I know Adam, I know a few others have purchased, and I believe it's worth your $10. I should be a better marketer than that. $9.99. Grab the link down in the description section. Again, it's not a history book. Goes and delves into the 1990s because to me that's the most formative period in college football in regards to our current postseason structure. And then again, we take all these results and then we basically translate them into the BCS, the 4-team, the 12-team, and the 14-team college football playoff shows. Thank you, everyone, for showing up here at the Voice of College Football. We got a great show in store with Greg Pflugar from Peek Around the Corner on Thursday, right here at the Voice of College Football. Dave says it's a great book, so take it from Dave.